Ryland's probably known me since about 4th grade, and this will probably be the most he's heard me talk throughout the entire process. Kind of heading into this weekend, as I thought about my wrestling career, beginning under the tutelage of Hall of Famer Jeff Davis, and then continuing under Hall of Fame inductee Ryland Wagner, I think, wow, I probably should have accomplished a little bit more than I did. But I'm thankful for them regardless. Gainesville is a place full of opportunity, both professionally and athletically, but unfortunately none of those are kind of seen in the wrestling community. And without the success that Ryland had as a coach on the mat, I don't think that wrestling would be continuing the way it has in Gainesville. Ryland has had many opportunities after graduating University of Florida, but afterwards chose to serve as basically a volunteer coach at Gainesville High School for the next 20 years. That decision impacted the lives of every wrestler who has stepped foot on a wrestling mat in Gainesville. I'm thankful to have begun my wrestling career at the Boys and Girls Club under Jeff Davis, but unfortunately, that club just didn't have the support, bandwidth, or the numbers to really have a year-long program that I think a lot of us would agree is pinnacle in finding success in this sport. Fortunately for myself, along with Jacob Harmer and Chase Roundtree, Ryland kind of saw potential in us in that program and allowed us to practice with the high school wrestling team starting in 2003. This kind of gave us an opportunity to watch Ryland develop from an assistant coach into a head coach. I think what makes Ryland a unique coach is that he kind of goes against the grain of what you expect as a traditional coach. He was never a big rah-rah guy. He would never give you a big speech before a wrestling match. He was analytical, he was purposeful, and he was honest. If you think that he had a tough athlete had a tough match coming up ahead of him, he wouldn't necessarily tell him, you got a tough one ahead of you. He'd just kind of look you in the eyes and say 6 minutes. And after a while, a couple of those guys started to catch on to his ways. As you look around the state at some of the great teams, you might notice that those teams kind of take on the identity of their coaches. I know when I was in high school, watching some of the lightweights come through Springstead, and then you meet Coach Sal, and it kind of all starts making sense where they got it from. Ryland took on the identity of his wrestling team. Before I got there, we would have between 6 to 7 guys that would have over 100 takedowns a year. My sophomore year, I led the team with 55 takedowns. So we slowly kind of becoming more of a cradle team, if you will. Ryland was diligent at understanding how to put his wrestlers in the best position to be successful. He was a student of the sport. I think after every summer he'd come back from high school nationals with a new technique that he would show us. I know he came back one year, learned the Merkle, and that was like the start of everything for Jake. I say all this to say that I know Ryland pretty well. And so when he approached me in 2016 to write him a letter of recommendation for the Hall of Fame, I was a little surprised because Ryland has never been one to seek recognition. On the first day of wrestling practice every year, he would tell us, if you're looking to have your name in the paper, you're in the wrong sport. And to be honest, at that time, I'd questioned if he'd earned that honor. As someone who began wrestling as a child, I felt that in order to earn a Lifetime Achievement Award, that you had to give your life. And I felt that, wrestling had chosen us. And as I kind of began to reflect more on my journey with Ryland, I found that despite all the opportunities that Ryland had, that he chose wrestling. And I think because of that, he is more deserving than anything of this honor. And I thank him for everything he's done for me and my family. And I love you.